Today's crisis communications moment of the day comes to us from JCPenney getting into hot water with Google and search engines. It's come to light that JCPenney was manipulating the search engine results when you type in different words like fashion, dresses. At first, they denied having anything to do with this. They weren't fully aware of what was going on. And now Google has been penalizing them, dropping them way down in the search engine results, certainly hurting the bottom line of JCPenney. TJ, what should a company do in a situation like this?
Well, they can't afford to simply ignore it. There's been a major profile story about this in the New York Times, which means it was picked up every place else in the world. And right now, JCPenney is suffering a bit of a black hat. They've got to worry about their customers, they have to worry about their prospects, and yes, they do have to worry about the people at Google. Google does not like to be toyed with. They do not like to be messed with. It's one thing if you're a small upstart media company and you're trying all sorts of advanced black hat search engine optimization techniques. But when you're a huge major retail presence, more than 100 years old, like JCPenney, you just don't have the luxury of trying this funny business. So they are at risk now of seeing their reputation permanently damaged. I think JCPenney needs to do the following. For starters, they need to come out publicly and apologize. Their CEO needs to make a public statement. It needs to be available on video. It needs to be a live situation on Ustream or Skype where reporters from anywhere in the world can ask questions. So for starters, there needs to be an apology and not just hide behind corporate lawyers putting out a press release on a website. Number two, the CEO needs to say exactly what they've done to investigate. Now, so far they've said, oh, we didn't really know what our search engine optimization. There needs to be a thorough investigation to exactly what happened. Number three, there needs to be some new policy put in place at JCPenney where there's oversight and control to make sure this cannot happen again. Because people are hurt by this. There are a lot of mom and pop fashion companies, small local stores, and actually designers who you could make the case they had their traffic robbed from them because of these gimmicks that JCPenney instituted. So those are the first three things I think JCPenney needs to do right away. And they're going to have to do a better job with all of their communication because for now, I think Google is going to cut them off at the spigot. Mike, what do you think of that?
Well, I was going to go back to Google for a second. Is there a lesson for Google in this in terms of people gaming the system? We've certainly heard a lot about people trying to game the Google, different ways of getting to the top of the rankings. Is there anything that Google should be doing in this case?
Well, apparently Google has taken some action. They're now penalizing JCPenney. Google, they don't like to talk about what they do and how they make changes for fear that the more they put out there, the more counter-reaction they get of other people trying to game the system. So they are, I think, justifiably somewhat tight-lipped about this. Google doesn't look great because in theory, on this issue, because in theory, they are supposed to have a system in place to prevent gaming the system like this. They're supposed to really figure out what is authentic and what is real. But at some point, with billions and billions and billions of websites all over the world, it's becoming increasingly difficult to actually have a pair of human eyes look at a site and figure out, what, this is just some BS site put up by another company to direct traffic back. So there's always going to be some room for manipulation and gimmickry when it comes to search engine optimization. But if you're a huge company with a major retail presence all over the country, all over the world, it just doesn't pay to get ahead short-term through gimmicks. You've got to earn your trust with customers in the internet world the same way you did in the real world. JCPenney can't do a bait and switch and say, hey, our products are twice as cheap as anyone else's in town, in any city in America, and get away with that if it's not true. That's essentially what they did, at least metaphorically, when it comes to the search engine tricks they did to get them so high placed. So I think they're going to, in the short term, they're going to have to spend a lot more money on online ads, and because they are going to be cut off. Now, there has been a suggestion that Google perhaps look the other way because JCPenney already spends a lot of money on online ads. So Google, JCPenney's not the only one to come out of this incident with a bit of a black eye and reputation damage. Google is getting a little bit of that black eye too. It would be nice if they responded. They typically don't in situations, but it would be nice to hear from them. Mike?
It also goes to just show you just how much of a presence now people going to online to get their information and for shopping purposes. People don't want to go to the stores. And a lot of this was going on during the holiday season, so certainly being able to go online and do some shopping without having to deal with the lines just made what JCPenney, that sort of short-term gain, as you were mentioning, just that much more right to the top of their list of what they wanted to get out of it.
And you know, when your company is big as JCPenney, it's not enough to simply do what is legal. You have to do what is right and what's perceived to be right by your customers. And the problem is, no, it's not illegal what they did, gaming the system, but it does smell funny to people. And that's what every big company and every small company has to ask themselves, whether they're talking to customers in the real world, handing out free samples on the street corner, or talking to customers and prospects in the online world. They have to ask themselves, will it smell right if people know everything that we're doing? And that's the question JCPenney has got to ask themselves a little more vigorously from now on. I'm TJ Walker. For more information and tips on crisis communication, go to tjwalker.com.